Mr. Bilas, thank you for being here with me and giving us the opportunity to share some questions about your book, Toughness. You've been a lot of things in your life, a player, a coach, a lawyer, and now a sports broadcaster. What would you say made you want to be an author as well?
Well, I didn't really want to do that. It just sort of happened. I was actually watching a game one day, and a commentator, much like me, was talking about this player that I felt was just being a bully, talking about how tough the player was, and it sort of rubbed me the wrong way. And I wrote an article. It moved me to write an article for ESPN about it, and I didn't know. Nobody had asked me to write it. I just did it and sent it in to my editor and said, "Hey, if you can use it, great. If not, I understand." And they liked it. They printed it. And after that was printed, I couldn't believe the response from coaches and military people, teachers, you name it, CEOs, literally from across the world, kind of reached out. And I don't know what nerve it struck or what chord, but from that, several years later, I was approached to write a book on it, and I did it, and it was really an interesting project, and I'm glad I did it. But the most rewarding thing about the whole thing was that teams, even oddly enough, like military units, businesses, they've used the book to start conversations among their group. And so they've communicated about what their value systems are, what they want to accomplish together, and it's sort of been a way for teams in whatever, families, whatever, to communicate on what's important to them, and that's been the best part for me.
So when do you think you learned the most about toughness?
Well, it's been a lifelong process. I'm not sure I have learned all that much about it. I'm sure my teammates that I played with in college found it wildly ironic. That's a subject I wrote on. But I think it's sort of been a lifelong thing where you've learned lessons throughout your life, and you've fallen short and failed in different areas, and as you go through life and you get older, you realize a little bit more clearly what's important. And I think if I would love to go back and do high school and college again, knowing what I know now. I think I would have been better at persevering through difficulties and having a better attitude and a more positive attitude about things, and moving on after a failure and realizing that the failure wasn't necessarily my destination, it was just what happened here. And if you're a competitor, you're going to fail. And you have to pick yourself up and move forward in a positive direction. It's a lot easier for me to do that now at my age than it was when I was 18.
Yeah.
Because when you're 18, everything seems like it's life and death, and it's not. But I think thinking more in a we first mode, I would like to go back and do that again.
Yeah.
Because I think when I was younger, I thought more about me. I thought, well, here's what I need to accomplish. Here's where I want to be. Instead of, I'll get where I need to be if we accomplish what we want. And if I were more in tune, I think I did okay in that, but if I were more in tune with sort of being we first instead of me first, younger, I think I would have been better, not just in my sport, but I would have been better in everything I did.
So, given your knowledge about toughness now, what would you say to students currently in high school, just as one central lesson about the word toughness?
I think if you take a sports analogy toward the concept, I would say that if you're going to be on a team, and even if you play an individual sport, you're on a team. Be easy to play with and be hard to play against. Like, I think toughness is a skill that can be improved upon. Maybe some have a greater aptitude for it than others, but I think concentration is a similar skill. Your ability to stay in the moment and think about what's right in front of you, rather than allowing yourself to think about things that won't help you right now.
So at Woodberry, we talk a lot about standing for the hard right against easy wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Would you consider that an expression of toughness?
Absolutely. It's hard to think about this when you're younger, but even saying no is a tough thing to do. And Bob Knight used to say no is a word that tough people use. If you have a path that you've set out, goals that you have, you've got a destination that you see for yourself, well, you need to say yes to that path and no to people who want to take you down another path. You can't allow anybody to take you down a path that is not in line with what your priorities are. And I've got a good friend named Jeff Van Gundy who says your decisions reveal your priorities. So everybody's really good at saying what their priorities are, but if you make a decision that takes you away from what your priorities are, your decision to do that really revealed that it wasn't a priority.
So does how you demonstrate toughness change as you get older, or are there some things that remain the same at age 18 and age 48?
I think it is, I can only speak for myself on that. I think as I've gotten older, I've realized that toughness, the way I define it, has very little to do with sort of this furrowed brow, kind of beat your chest type stuff, and has more to do with attitude, persistence, the way you approach things, the way you handle failure. The only thing you can really control in any situation is your attitude and how hard you work. And the rest of it, you sort of have to accept that you have less control over. And as I've gotten older, I realized that sort of whatever I'm involved in, character, competence, and humility are at the top of the list. That I hope I have good character. I want to demonstrate it all the time in whatever I do. I want to be competent in the things that I do. So in my job, I want to be an expert in my job. And then I want to have the humility to know that, look, I have the humility to prepare and hopefully the confidence to pull it off. But I know that it's not about me. That I'm, when I work for ESPN, you with your job here, everything you do, you're part of a larger whole, and that requires humility and understanding, sort of the we first attitude.
So you mentioned in your ESPN article that the word toughness is, quote, just some buzzword that is thrown around haphazardly without clear definition or understanding. If you had to write another article about a word that you felt is also misinterpreted, what would it be?
Wow, that's a good question. I would probably say humility. I think there are at least people I have known over the years that feel like humility is kind of this aw shucks stuff, and kind of a false humility. Like, you can be incredibly confident and still be very humble. Humility to me is about acknowledging that it's not about me, it's about us. And you can still have individual goals, but I don't know anybody that is not in it together with others, whether it's your family, whether it's your business, whether, I think people can wrap their heads around the idea of being a teammate, but even here in school, being a great classmate. In the classes you're in, is it about you and your academic goals, or is it about making sure that the people you're with, if somebody's struggling, or understanding, having empathy for those around you, that what they're going through? Because Woodberry Forest isn't easy, and you may have a classmate that's struggling, and how are you going to help if you're not humble enough to know this isn't just about me? I have to have empathy for those around me so I can help. If you don't know what's going on, you can't help.
Well, Mr. Bilas, thank you so much.
Thank you
for being here, and
thank you. Take my job soon. I'm not worried about you. You're good.
Thank you for giving us our school this wonderful opportunity of having you on
Well, thank you.
campus.
I'm honored to be with you. Thanks very much.